Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 14th March 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 7 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first article. I want to say one important thing. So many students, they will ignore this Sunday newspaper. But this Sunday newspaper is important regarding science and technology point of view, and you can get many science and technology related articles in page number 12. Okay, so now let us see first article. Title says gregarious bamboo flowering in Wayanad poses threat. So this article mainly focusing on bamboo flowering. So this article is important regarding environment and ecology point of view, which comes under GS paper 3. And this article is also important regarding geography point of view. So regarding geography, you need to open your atlas and see where is this Wayanad is present, and Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary, and also you need to know about Nilagiri Wildlife Sanctuary, and everything that you should remember regarding this article. So you can expect some prelims based questions regarding this Wayanad. So if you saw this UPSC previous year question paper of 2018, so there is one question mainly regarding this wildlife sanctuaries which are present in this Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu region. So because of this, whenever you are seeing this national parks or wildlife sanctuaries which are present in news, then you have to open your atlas and you have to see geography also. Okay, and now let us see this article in great detail. First, let us see context. Context mainly says that gregarious flowering of bamboo inside Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary, which is located near this Mudumalai Tiger Reserve in Tamil Nadu. So it is possessing mainly grave threat to wildlife and as well as to this bamboo. Okay, so wildlife in this Nilagiri biosphere, they mainly threatened, and as well as even for this bamboo also there is threat. So why? If you see these bamboo groves mainly present in this Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary, they are mainstay of herbivores in this Nilagiri Biosphere Reserve during summer. So during summer, mainly from Karnataka and as well as even Tamil Nadu states also, wildlife, they will migrate from Karnataka and Tamil Nadu towards this biosphere reserve here. So because of this, there is a threat to animals, that is herbivores which are mainly present in this Nilagiri biosphere, because there is increased competition between these herbivores which are coming from this Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and also which are present in this Nilagiri biosphere regarding this bamboo here. So because of this, it is mainly posing some threat to wildlife. So migration of these wild animals, they start from adjacent sanctuaries which are mainly located in Karnataka and as well as Tamil Nadu to Wayanad here, because of shortage of food and as well as water because of this summer. So onset of this summer, then what happened, there will be migration of wildlife from this Karnataka and Tamil Nadu towards this Nilagiri biosphere. Because of that, that will lead to increase in competition between wildlife which is present already in this area and which is new wildlife that is migrating from this adjacent sanctuaries from Tamil Nadu and as well as Karnataka. So because of this increase in competition here and as well as flowering of this bamboo, so that mainly adversely impact of migration here, because from these nearby sanctuaries located in Karnataka and as well as Tamil Nadu, so huge influx of elephants, wild boar and as well as other lower herbivores that is seen. So because of this, that will leads to mass destruction of this bamboo groves after the flowering. So now let us see some facts regarding this bamboo. So these bamboo groves, they mainly grows more than 500 hectares of about 344.44 square kilometers of the sanctuary, and now this bamboo, it is fully bloomed. Okay, and this bamboo mainly belongs to family, that is Poaceae family, and this phenomenon of flowering, that will occur only once in life cycle of this bamboo. So because they are monocarpic, that means flowering that can be seen only once in their life cycle. So this flower cycle mainly varies from 40 to 60 years. So if you see some threats to this bamboo, so first one is overgrazing or increase in competition, and next one is because of forest fires also we can lose this bamboos in the summer season. So these are some important facts that you should remember regarding this article, and please don't forget to open your atlas and see one of important biosphere area which is located in Western Ghats. And now let us see next article. Title says pollution linked to virus spread. So this is statement which is given by our Union Health Minister. So this article, it is talking about pollution and COVID-19. So how pollution will lead to increased vulnerability regarding this COVID-19. So this article is important regarding GS3 under environment and ecology, because pollution mainly comes under this GS3, and GS2 here is health. So we are connecting this GS3 with GS4. So in this way you can expect some analysis based questions in your mains. And now let us see this article in great detail. So context says that emerging evidence to suggest that exposure to ambient air pollutants like particulate matter 2.5 and nitrogen dioxide that will contribute to spread and virulence of SARS coronavirus infections. So recently we are seeing there is increasing cases, that is surge in COVID-19 cases, that is evident here. So one important reason that mainly highlighted in this article here is because of exposure to air pollutants like particulate matter 2.5 and nitrogen dioxide. So that led to contribution of spread of this SARS coronavirus infections. And now let us see details regarding these articles. So if you see some important facts which are mainly highlighted in these articles include ambient air pollution is one of known risk factor for multiple adverse health outcomes. So whenever people who are suffering from these cardiorespiratory morbidities, so these people who are suffering with these cardiorespiratory morbidities, they are very much highly vulnerable to this COVID-19 infections. So as we know, these pollutions will lead to increased respiratory tract infections. So because of this respiratory tract infections, whenever patient who is suffering from this respiratory tract infections, if this patient suffering from this COVID-19, then severity in symptoms that might lead to mortality also. So because of this, air pollution will increase vulnerability or mortality regarding this COVID-19. So this is first important thing. And next one is people who usually live in closed indoor spaces. So these closed indoor spaces that will provide some important ideal environments for viral transmission because of lack of ventilation. So whenever there is a proper ventilation that is seen in a house, then what happens? Free movement of air in and out that will be seen. So because of this, if at all any virus is present, that will not be stay in that home for longer time, right? So because of this, whenever we are living in a closed environment within four walls, so what happens in this way, it will mainly provide some ideal environments for viral transmission, mainly because of lack of ventilation. So if at all any person who is entering into that house who is healthy, so because of virus which is present in that area, whenever he is inhaling air, so in that air it will also contains virus particles. So because of this, it will lead to transmission of this coronavirus. So mainly to prevent this transmission of this coronavirus, we need to live in good ventilated spaces, good public places. And next one is it also prevents dilution of virus particles. So whenever air it is moving in and out, what happens? Virus particles will be diluted here, right? So whenever we are living in these indoor spaces, virus particle concentration will be increased. And next one is there is absence of ultraviolet rays which will potentially inactivate these viruses. So because of all these reasons, indoor spaces will lead to increased transmission of this coronavirus. And if you see some data regarding this health, for example, first one here is World Health Organization reported that in 2018, over 91% of global populations, they reside in areas where ambient air pollution level exceed normal limits. That means there is increase in concentration of pollutants, especially in these capital regions or metropolitan areas. So because of this increase in pollution, that will lead to deaths. So it will be about 4.2 million annual deaths which are mainly regarding this air pollution. And next one is Lancet Commission report on pollution and health. It estimated that about 1.8 million deaths annually, that is throughout globe, because of water, okay, contamination of water with microbes. And another data which is released by this Lancet Commission here is about 0.5 million deaths, they occur due to chemical pollution of water and as well as soil by heavy metals and other man-made chemicals. So because of this contamination of water, overall it will be leading to 2.3 million deaths globally. Okay, and if you see here, and next one is emissions of huge quantities of greenhouse gases into atmosphere. It is also one of main cause for climate change. Because of this climate change, we are going to see there are several impacts on human health as well as environment, etc. And next one is major source of water pollution here is plastic debris. Even in Pacific Ocean, we can see Pacific garbage patch that is present. So in this Pacific garbage patch, we see microplastic concentration. It is very high. So because of that, micro constituents which are present in that area, that is having some impact on health of our marine organisms also, right? So one of important major source of water pollution here is plastic debris. So it has become an important environment problem because of ubiquitous prevalence of plastic. That means we can see plastic everywhere in our life, right? And in this context, what is need? The need here is research, especially we need to focus on research, and that research should be target at estimation of burden of pollution or climate change and consequent health effects. So because of this, we need to come up with any special design or special implementation of programs that is mainly addressing this climate change and as well as burden of pollution here. So in this way, whenever we are mainly focusing on research and development regarding this pollution and pollution related climate change and impact of climate change on human health, then we can enable any achievement of sustainable development goals of United Nations Development Program. So this is gist of this article. I hope it is clear now. Now let us see next article. Title says black hole on the move. So how these black holes are formed? So as we know, there will be nebula. So whenever these nebula that is coming together, that will lead to formation of stars. So based on mass, we can see small stars are present and massive big stars are present. So in this life cycle of stars, at final stage, what happened? There will be explosion. So small stars will lead to formation of white dwarfs, and big stars which have mass more than our sun, that will form either into neutron star or black hole. So at end of life of these stars, we can see formation of black holes or neutron stars or white dwarfs that is seen. So this article mainly focusing on black hole. So this article is important regarding GS paper 3 under science and technology. So now let us try to understand this article in great detail. So recently a new study which mainly published in Astrophysical Journal. So this study mainly saying that a case of moving black hole located 230 million light years away, and if you see mass, it is about 3 million times more than compared to that of the sun. So here this study mainly focused on one black hole. So this black hole is moving, and if you see location, it is located about 230 million light years from Earth. And if you see mass of this black hole, it is exclusively large. It is about 3 million times more compared to that of sun. So recently cosmologists, they have hypothesized that supermassive black hole wander in space. So this study published in Astrophysical Journal. And now let us see some facts regarding this black hole. So first of all, what is this black hole? Black hole mainly it is one important object which is seen in space. So this object, it is very dense and it has such a strong gravity that even light cannot escape from this pull. So because of this, we can appear it as a black thing. So you have to remember it is so dense and it has strong gravity and even light cannot escape from its pull. So it is mainly black in color. So if you see types of these black holes, there are mainly 4 types of black holes. First one is stellar black hole, second one is intermediate, third one is supermassive, and fourth one is miniature black hole. So if you see in this black hole, one important feature here is whenever we are passing any light cannot escape from this. So because of this, it is black and it is mostly invisible. So if you see boundary of this black hole, it is called as event horizon. So these are some important facts that you should remember regarding this article. And now let us see next article. Title says size of egg cells. So this article mainly talking about one of largest cells in body. So you can expect some prelims based questions regarding science point of view. So you can expect statement like which of the largest cell in our body. So that is egg cells. Egg cells are the largest cells in the body. So this article mainly focusing on new study regarding why egg cells are largest cells. So this article is again important regarding science and technology, which comes under GS paper 3. So now let us have a detailed discussion on this topic. So if you see context, as we know, egg cells, they are largest cells in body. So recently new study conducted regarding fruit flies. So regarding this fruit fly study conducted by biologists and as well as mathematicians, and this study made reveal how these egg cells grow so big. So to understand this, please see here I try to draw diagram of ovary actually. So this is ovary. So in ovary we have immature follicle cells, and every month what happens, there will be one follicle cell that will mature, and that is called as egg cell. So in this formation of this egg, so we have some process, so that is called as oocyte production. Okay, so this oocyte, which is a very big cell, and in this oocyte we have this egg that is present. And besides this, we have many nerve cells which are present here. So these nerve cells which are present in ovary are called as ovarian nerve cell. This nerve cell, they are mainly important because these nerve cells are responsible for big size of this egg cell. Okay, so here you have to remember, we have nerve cell, we have follicle cells, and we have oocyte here. So if you see some details regarding this study, it mainly says that nerve cells, they connected to oocyte. So whenever these nerve cells, they are connecting to this oocyte, so whatever contents which are present in this nerve cell, they will be dropped into this oocyte. So because of this reason, there is expansion of this egg cell that is seen. So these nerve cells, they surround this developing oocyte, and these nerve cells, they are responsible for synthesis of proteins and as well as RNAs. So these proteins and RNAs, they are deposited in these nerve cells, and these will be dumped into oocyte here. So these nerve cells, they will provide nutrients throughout this oogenesis, that means formation of egg cell. So this is oogenesis, is a process in which formation of egg cells that is happening. So in this entire process of this oogenesis, this nerve cell, they will provide some nutrients mainly to process of this oogenesis here. So if you're talking about these nerve cells, they are highly polyploid, and they dump their cytoplasm, which is containing RNAs and as well as proteins, into these oocytes via ring canals. So because of these reasons, we can see egg cells, they are largest cells in our body. So this is just, and now let us see next article. Before seeing this article, I want to make a small announcement on this platform. We came up with this current affairs package course. In this course, we are focusing on current affairs and also mains answer writing practice. So if you ask me what is importance of current affairs, about 50 to 60% of questions, either it may be prelims or mains or even interview, you can expect questions from this current affairs. Current affairs forms a big part in your prelims and as well as mains, and even in also interview. So if you are getting any static based questions, they are also related to this current affairs. So mastering of current affairs, it is an important key mainly to clear this UPSC. And if you're talking about this mains answer writing practice, so many students, they will ignore this mains answer writing practice, and they will think like we can start after completing NCERTs, after completing standard books, we will start writing answers. But this approach will not work for UPSC, because answer writing skills plays an important role to clear UPSC mains. So if you see in final mains, you will have 3 hours of time, and within this 3 hours of time, you need to attempt 20 to 22 questions. So on average, you will get 7 to 8 minutes for every question. So within this 7 minutes, you need to read at least 2 times question, and you have to understand what is demand of question, and you have to come up with framework of answer to be written in your brain, and you have to come up with finally written answer on your paper. So mainly to achieve this fastness here, you need to focus on answer writing skills on day 1 of your preparation. Okay, so if you join this course, we will be providing you daily once mains question and weekly one essay, and we will be evaluating those answers whatever you written. And if you join this course, we also provide you prelims practice questions along with video solutions. So in this way, this course is exactly focusing on what is demand of UPSC. So finally, I want to say one thing, please try to join this course as soon as possible, and don't take this course as a choice. So details regarding this course which is given in description box, so please visit once. Don't forget about this. And now let us see next article. Title says genetics of eye color. So this article is exclusively important for students of anthropology optional. So they have genetic variants as a one topic in their paper too. So because of this, you need to save this article for anthropology purpose. Okay, now let us try to understand this article in a great detail. So if you're talking about human eye color, it mainly ranges from black, brown to blue, green, and in some people we can see some even red shade that is seen in eyes. So what is responsible for this color variant? So primarily color of this eye determined by melanin abundance in iris pigment epithelium. So based on this melanin abundance which is present in iris pigment epithelium, we can see variants of eye color. So if you are talking about brown color eye, we can see high melanin content than compared to that of this blue eyes. So if you are talking about melanin, we have two types of melanin. First one is eumelanin, second one is pheomelanin. So it is one important factor that is responsible for color of eye. And next one is light absorption and scattering by extracellular components. They are some additional factors that determine color of eye. So first one is melanin content, second one is light absorption and as well as scattering by extracellular components. So these are two important reasons for eye color. And if you are talking about absolute melanin quantity and as well as eumelanin and as well as pheomelanin, so this ratio of absolute melanin and eumelanin and pheomelanin, so these are high in brown iris and this ratio which is very much little in blue eyes. In blue eyes we can see pheomelanin content is high when compared to that of this eumelanin. And if you see earlier studies mainly found that there are dozens of genes, for example HERC2 and as well as OCA2, they are found to be influenced on eye color. But new study mainly conducted genetic analysis of about nearly 0.2 million people across Europe and Asia. So this study mainly helped researchers to identify new genes. So this study mainly said that there are about 50 new genes which are responsible for eye color. They are identified in this new study. So if you see findings of this study, it mainly says that about 53% of eye color variation mainly using some common single nucleotide polymorphins. So single nucleotide polymorphins, it is responsible for 53% of eye color variation, and eye color, it is genetically high complex of human trait. Okay, so these are some important findings of this study. And now let us see next article. Title says Martian blueberries find a parallel on Earth. So this article mainly focusing on Martian blueberries. So this is very important because in prelims you can expect like Martian blueberries, they are recently seen in news. So what are they? So in this way you can expect some prelims based questions regarding science and technology and prelims. So this article is important regarding science and technology which comes under GS paper 3. And now let us try to understand this article in a great detail. So if you see background of this article, in 2004, NASA sent one Mars exploration mission. So this Mars exploration rover name here is Opportunity. So this Opportunity mainly found several small spheres on this planet's surface. So the name which is given informally to these spheres which are present on Martian surface, they include this Martian blueberries. Okay. So this Opportunity spectrometer mainly studied mineralogy of that Martian berries, that is called as Martian blueberries, and this study mainly said that they are mainly made up of iron oxide compounds. They are called as hematites. So this hematites mainly contains oxides of iron. So this hematites mainly suggest that there was presence of water on Mars. So whenever water component which is present on Mars, then only that will lead to formation of this hematites. So because of this, by studying this mineralogy of this Martian blueberries, we can understand some mechanism of formation of this hematites. So we can understand there might be oxidizing environments and also presence of water on the surface of Mars. So that led to formation of this gray hematites. So for formation of these hematites, we need two important components. First one is water and second one is oxidizing environments. So whenever water is present and oxidizing environments are present, then only that will lead to formation of hematites. So this is one important inference that is from this Opportunity. Okay. And if you see recent paper, we studied hematite concretions in Kutch. Okay. So these are called as Durian formations. So these durian formations in Kutch region, which is located in Gujarat, they are formed between 145 to 201 million years ago. So these blueberries in India and as well as March, they share some similar characteristics. So this recent study mainly compared blueberries on Mars and as well as these durian formations in this run of Kutch region, which is located in Gujarat here. So study mainly said that in these hematite concretions of Earth and as well as Mars, they have similar morphology. They are looking similar, like they have spherical structures, and sometimes we are seeing doublets and as well as triplets of the spheres that are identified. And they also sharing similar mineralogy. They are mainly made up of hematite plus goethite. Okay, so what is significance of this study? First one is because of presence of hematite. If you see formation of this hematite, they show presence of water on this Martian surface. And next one is they indicate that planet had atmosphere with oxygen, as hematites need oxygen to stabilize. And next one is we also, when we are studying this run of Kutch, okay, Jowar formations, so we can understand there is transformation from wet and humid and dry and arid environment on Mars. It is mainly mimicked by history of Kutch. So because of this durian formations of Kutch, they can represent another data point that mainly reinforces the need to use this Kutch area for further analog studies of Martian surface. So when you are going for further Martian surface, here for example we have sent number of Martian missions recently, like UAE's HOPE mission and as well as China's Tianwen mission and as well as NASA's Perseverance mission. So because of these missions, they are going to collect some samples, and whenever we are studying that Martian surface, then we can also use this Kutch area mainly to understand this Martian surface also. So this is significance of this study. And now let us see next article. Title says, will new adenovirus antibodies reduce vector vaccine efficacy? So this article mainly focusing on vector vaccine efficacy. So this article mainly focusing on this COVID-19 vaccines. So in market we have different vaccines. So different vaccines are developed from different countries. In India we have Novavax. We discussed about this Novavax in yesterday's lecture. And we have Covaxin, we have Covishield. So these are three important vaccine candidates in India. And if you're talking about from worldwide, we have different vaccines like Moderna is there, Sputnik 5 is there, we have Pfizer is there, right? So we are comparing this vaccine efficacy with this vaccines, right? So if you're talking about these types of vaccines, we have inactivated vaccines, we have vector vaccine, right? So if you're talking about this vaccine, for example, if you're talking about this Covishield, we are using vector like adenovirus to transmit this RNA or genetic material of this coronavirus into body to stimulate our immune system, right? But if you see vaccine efficacy of that vector, that is comparatively less when we are comparing to that of mRNA vaccines or inactivated vaccines. So this article mainly focusing on why vector vaccine efficacy is low when we are comparing with other inactivated vaccines or other mRNA vaccines here. So this article is important regarding science and technology, which comes under GS paper 3. So now let us have a detailed discussion on this topic. So context says that if you are using this mRNA vaccine platforms, for example Pfizer vaccine, Moderna vaccine, so vaccine efficacy is high. It is mainly reported about 94% for Pfizer vaccine, 95% for Moderna vaccine. So if you are talking about vector based vaccine platform technology, that is mainly used by AstraZeneca and as well as Johnson & Johnson. So AstraZeneca mainly showing about vaccine efficacy of about 55.1% and Johnson & Johnson vaccine about 66%. So they are showing lower efficacy when we are comparing with this mRNA vaccines, right? So if you are talking about AstraZeneca's Covishield vaccine, so it is showing about vaccine efficacy of 81.3% gap whenever we are giving gap between two doses about more than 12 weeks, okay? And if you are administering second dose within 6 weeks, we are seeing vaccine efficacy of about 55%, okay? So if you see what might be reason, so we are mainly using adenovirus based vaccine platforms, and we are using this adenovirus based vaccine platforms since decades. For example, we are using some rabies vaccines, and we are using some polio vaccines, right? So not only this, but also we are using this adenovirus based vaccine platform since some decades, mainly to get vaccines here. So because of this, many people, they have already taken this adenovirus based vaccine platforms. But when we are using for this COVID-19 vaccines also this adenovirus, so already in body, the people who took this adenovirus based vaccines, so they already have antibodies which are produced in their body regarding this adenovirus. So because of this, they will not allow this adenovirus based vaccines that to enter into cell. So because of this, efficacy of this vaccine, it is very much low. So if you see regarding this adenovirus based vaccine platforms, already pre-existing antibodies to this adenovirus vector that will affect development of antibodies against new target adenovirus in carrying this antigen. Okay, so because there is also some unclearness regarding this whether it is true or not, but recent study said that there is loss of potency if we are having already pre-existing antibodies regarding this adenovirus. So these pre-existing antibodies against this adenovirus, they stop this adenovirus particles to enter into cells and making this coronavirus to spike protein in our body, such that it will not detect this coronavirus spike protein to develop antibodies against this coronavirus. So because of this, we have less efficacy regarding this adenovirus based coronavirus vaccines. Okay. So if you are talking about whenever we are taking inactivated vaccines, so in this inactivated vaccines, we are taking directly particles of virus. We are not using any vector to deliver this virus particles into body. So because of this, our immune system that will identify these inactivated particles such that our body will develop immune response. So in this coronavirus, we are giving at least 2 doses, right? So if same adenovirus subtypes which are given for repeat vaccinations, so it will lead to reduced efficacy, because if first dose we are giving that same adenovirus to body, so our body is detecting that and our body will be generating antibodies. So after some weeks of time, again we are giving same adenovirus, right? So because of this, if at all already our body will contains this antibodies, they will detect this, right? So because of this, this antibodies which are present in our body will not allow this second dose to enter into cells to produce further more immunity. But if you are taking this inactivated vaccines, so it will be not like that. Okay, so whenever inactivated vaccine particles that are given, they will not face this problem, right? So whenever we are giving repeated doses of inactivated vaccines, that will raise height of our immune system and there is no chance of any reduction of efficacy. So whenever we are going for this inactivated vaccine, we can see further increase of efficacy unlike this vector based vaccines. So in this context, what is need? The need here is whenever we are using this vector based vaccines and whenever we need to give in multiple doses, we need to use sub variants of this vectors. For example, if you are talking about Sputnik 5, it is also using vector based, okay, it is also using adenovirus. But for first dose, it is using AD26 variant, and for second dose, it is using AD5 variant. So because of this, that is increasing efficacy. And if you see efficiency of this Sputnik 5, it is about 91.6%. So this is something that we can do whenever we are going for this vector based vaccines. Okay, so this is just of this article. I hope it is clear. And now let us see today's essay topic. Today's essay topic, it is a very interesting topic and you can get many dimensions to write a good essay. So topic here is there can be no social justice without economic prosperity, but economic prosperity without social justice is meaningless. So there are number of examples to connect this social justice with economic prosperity and economic prosperity without social justice. So try to write essay, and essay should not be more than 750 words. And you have to write essay within 1.5 hours. Okay, by this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. And don't forget to enroll this current affairs package course. Thank you so much.